And I think that the main difference between Web2 identity and Web3 identity, it's mainly the fact that in Web2, today it's segregated. The identity is held on other servers. They don't talk to each other. And I think in Web3, it's the reverse. I mean, the same kind of ideas, like the history that you do, the interaction that you do. Sometimes it's, it's the friends you make, like on Lens, for instance, that is a Web3 social network, the collection, like when you vote on governance. But now it's yours. So now it's in your wallet or in your wallet. And so that's the main difference in that.
Hi everyone, it's Jordan from the NEWFORUM team. Today our guest is Hadrien Charlanes, founder of Sismo, the modular protocol for Web3 identities. We will explore the notion of identity in Web2 versus Web3, Sismo's vision, and the future of ZK badges when it comes to self-sovereign identities. Welcome, Hadrien, and let's start if you're ready.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Always exciting to talk about this. It's very exciting.
Great. So Hadrien, how did you get into Web3 and crypto, and which year? What's your personal story?
Yeah, so I was in engineering school in 2014, I think. Learned about the Bitcoin white paper. I loved it. I loved what was inside. So, but I didn't like that much. They say the culture at that time that was very anarchist. And luckily at the same time, I think like some months later, there were friends of mine that told me about the Ethereum white paper. And since I was studying entrepreneurship and I've always loved startups and things like that, I think that I found the right community for myself. So started in Ethereum in very early all-in, meaning full time. I was one of the first employees of Consensus, about 20 or 30. There, at that time, Consensus was a startup studio, venture studio. And so I was building a stablecoin project there, which was called Variable. And then, so I did this from 2016 to 2018. Then the ICO craze that I didn't like that much. And there were incentives for me to do a big ICO. I didn't feel comfortable to do that. So I prefer to lead this project to Consensus and to get out. Didn't like that much the ICO craze. Didn't like that much either like in 2019, there was a sort of maximalism within the Ethereum community because it was talking about ETH's money and this kind of stuff, and we had no substrate to talk about. Atmosphere was a bit sad. So that's when I learned about cryptography. I did all the math behind everything cryptography until the bilinear pairings of ZK proofs. So went more into the Zcash ecosystem, what is ZK proofs about. And then the DeFi summer happened, and even a bit before, I think Ethereum starting to get back its original vibes, about creation, innovation, doing multiple things. So I joined Aave as a smart contract dev for a year. And then, I realized that we start to have quite a lot of data on chain, from different graphs. For instance, you can get paid in crypto, you have your private wallet, you have your vanity address, you have maybe your NFT collector wallet. You start to have actually you use multiple apps. And so now the question becomes how I am able to leverage my data, my social capital. And that's where we'll talk about this today.
Yeah, definitely. Before we dive really into Sismo, maybe we can take a moment to take your definition of what identity is, because obviously there's not an easy definition, especially what's the difference between identity and Web2 versus in Web3.
I think defining identity is really hard. There's something about the fact that depending on the context, you want to show something different, usually. There's something about this, you have your inner identity, or I don't know, your inner something that makes you whole. But then you, whether it's physical or digital, you kind of want to show some part of yourself. Maybe that's identity. And I think that's the main difference between Web2 identity and Web3 identity. It's mainly the fact that in Web2, the identity is held on other servers. I think my Web2 identity is very segregated. I have my Facebook identity with my friends because I'm a boomer. I have my LinkedIn identity with professionals, my more students, university people, and so we have my Uber identity, my Airbnb identity.
Would you say that the Web2 identity is centralized and very siloed between different applications or companies that own a specific part of the identity of a person? Is that how you see it?
Exactly. If we think that we have several identities, like in Web2, identities are held on others, and they can have farm on our identity. Their business model, the Web2 companies, is, I think, to hook you with a service, and then they try to have you farm to bring more and more data, personal data on the servers, and then they try to capitalize on that. So yeah, today it's segregated. They don't talk to each other. And I think in Web3, it's the reverse. I mean, the same kind of ideas, like the history that you do, the interaction that you do. Sometimes it's, yeah, it's the friends you make, like on Lens, for instance, that is a Web3 social network, the collection, like when you vote on governance. But now it's yours. So now it's in your wallet or in your wallet. And so that's the main difference, that you own your identity and you bring it as you wish or as you need to the application. Whereas in Web2, it's the application that proposes you an identity, an account, not yours. They lend it to you. Hey, create a Twitter account, but it's not yours. At any moment, I can remove it. I can change it. So they tell you, okay, use this identity to interact with my app. Whereas in Lens, for instance, that is the decentralized Twitter, I have my identity, I have my NFTs, stuff like that, and I can bring it to Lens if I want. But tomorrow, if I want to bring it as well, I can, and I keep my social graph. Yeah, so that's the core difference, I think. It's the ownership.
Right. So we had recently on NEWFORUM Nichanant, Nichanant, and she wrote an article called Towards Digital Self-Sovereignty, the Web3 Identity Stack, in which she actually talks about Sismo at a certain point. And she says that decentralized identity is a mega project. So in this context of identity between being a mega project, like how does Sismo fit into this? Like what is Sismo and what is the overall vision of Sismo?
Yeah, so I think that we are an infrastructural project that enables you to leverage your social capital from multiple identities or source of data. We, like for instance, if you have 5 wallets that are different, your private wallet, your public wallet, your NFT collector wallet, Sismo will enable you to bring this identity to applications or to third parties in an aggregated way and in a privacy preserving way. Very concretely, let's say that you have a wallet that has many transactions and you did a lot of stuff with it, like maybe there is your net worth or financial data, and you want to share that you are part of a DAO, like a non-DAO or I don't know what, without revealing your wallet. That's why you will use Sismo. So in the stack, the users has many self-sovereign identities, has self-sovereign data generally that are in multiple accounts. And we allow you to aggregate your data and selectively reveal the data that is part of the data.
When you say aggregate your data, could you give examples of like what kind of data do you kind of play around with?
So let's say that Aave wants to give access to a physical event like the raid, to a physical event to the best contributors of Aave. On my side, I have a private wallet where I may hold a pretty large amount of Aave. I will never share it to anyone in the wallet. I don't want to. On another side, I was paid by Aave because I worked there. So I have this account too that has some Aave reputation. And on my public ENS, I also participate in the governance of Aave, stuff like that. The aggregation of this is, I have these 3 accounts that I don't want to link together, but I want to extract the Aave reputation from it. And so with Sismo, that's what we try to do. And that's what we do. We allow you to extract any piece of data, aggregated or disaggregated, from your total data that you have in multiple accounts. So here I will be able to prove I'm a big Aave contributor because I was a former employee, I have some Aave, and I participated in the governance.
So for a new user that's maybe not familiar with Sismo exactly, obviously the first step is going through the documentation and going on the website. But what would you say are the different steps to explore also Sismo to start using it, either as a normal user or as a developer? Like what are the different types of users and how do they interact with Sismo?
Yeah, so the way, because I told you like very high level, you prove stuff, you're able to reveal part of your data. The way it works today, we revolve around the notion of ZK badges. They are tokenized attestation. And when I told you I prove that I'm an Aave contributor, I would mint an Aave contributor ZK badge. So the way it works is that I'm an app developer, I'm an Aave. I will create a new badge and I will gate my physical event to the badge holders. So we have a factory. So on factory.sismo.io, you can create your own badge. It's permissionless. So anybody can say, okay, I want to create a new badge for, let's say, my Lens followers and people that voted on Sismo snapshot. And you can do that in an Notebook too. So by doing this, you are creating your group of eligible users for your ZK badge. And so then, okay, your badge is live. Only people that are eligible can use it. So here are my Lens followers and people that voted on Sismo.eth snapshot. That's from the application side. And so then I will say all people that have this badge will be able to access my gated service, whether it's a physical event or anything. Now from a user side, let's say that I'm Jordan and I'm following Hadrien Charlanes. I'm eligible to this badge because I'm part of this group of eligible users. What Sismo allows you to do is to go to this time the app.sismo.io. You import in Sismo Vault your source account, the one from which you are eligible. So here it's your Jordan.net. Okay? You are eligible. And now, thanks to Sismo, you are able to mint a badge on another address, a freshly new, for instance, an empty address that is completely empty, and you will receive the badge there. And the property of ZK badges is that they are privacy preserving, meaning that everybody that has a badge, we know that they are part of this group, but we cannot trace back to who exactly in the group you are. So in Sismo frontend, you generated what you call a ZK proof. You created a mathematical proof that you are part of this group.
Regarding what you just said, one of the main smart contracts of Sismo is the attestation registry. So how do these attestations relate to what you just said in this context of proving your credentials or that you're part of a group?
Yeah, so I'm eligible to the badge. I'm on Sismo. I generate a ZK proof. This is off-chain. This is just data. So I generate a ZK proof. Now what I do with it, I send it on-chain to what we call the ZK attester. It's a smart contract that verifies that the ZK proof is valid. Then that stores something called a nullifier so that you cannot mint two badges from the same eligible account. Because since we don't know who you are, we need to somehow store something. So you cannot mint twice the badge. And then the ZK attester, once it has verified the ZK proof, it mints the ZK badge. So actually, it doesn't mean the ZK badge. What it does, it means a ZK attestation. It creates an attestation. It's just a line in the registry that says, okay, there is a new attestation that is created.
So sorry to interrupt, just at that moment. You mentioned obviously the badges. Just to confirm and for the audience, do they work as SBTs? And if yes, can you give just like a very brief definition for the audience? I mean, most might already know, but just in case, it can't hurt to go back through it.
Yeah, so when you do a ZK proof, you get a ZK attestation. It's a proof that you are part of the group, that you are eligible. And on top of this, we have the SBT, the ZK badge. The ZK badge is just the tokenized attestation. It's the same. Like when you get the attestation, you get the badge. And if you don't get the attestation, you can't get the badge. They are really one-to-one. You must see the badge as a viewer of the attestation. And this viewer is a SBT, meaning it's a non-transferable token. So for the consumers of the badges, it's super easy to know, like, I want to gate the service to badge holders. I just check the balance of the badge. And so it's an SBT in the sense that it's solvent token in the sense that it's non-transferable. And here, if you think about it, the badge is bound to your source account, to your Jordan.net. And actually, if you minted the badge on another address and that you lose this address, you will be able to, from Jordan.net to burn and remint. So it's really bound to something more than the address that holds the badge. It's more like the source account is.
So how do you see soul-bound tokens evolving regarding not only their present day, but really in the future? For example, a couple projects, and you can include Sismo in these projects, or exploring kind of like the notion of weighted reputation, of having, of course, behind a badge, it's not just a badge, there's a reputation, there's the fact that you belong to a community, to a group. So what are your thoughts? Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, but how do you think ZK badges in general are going to evolve with regards to trust in the space and reputation, which are really massive topics when it comes to decentralization and crypto in general, as we saw this year or last year?
Yeah, I guess since Sismo is very infrastructural, like the badges are interesting, but it's really the data that is behind that. Like we don't, like our badges each have a picture that doesn't matter that much. What is important is the data that they mean. our vision is very technical. We think that the SBTs somehow will take the place of the cookies in Web2. Cookies in Web2, they allow you to create a session, like to prove something. Like when you connect via Twitter on another app, there will be some cookies that are token cookies, session cookies that are here. And similarly, I think SBTs and the address that holds them act as some access tokens, some cookies. So for instance, let's say that I create a new wallet, completely empty. I send there a SBT that proves that I'm older than 18. Then I use this wallet to connect to a Web3 app. The entire address can be thought as a pure, it's not an identity, it's not something, it's a one-time address that you use just to access an app. And then you can throw it. That's the kind of thing that I think will be great in long term. It's like not thinking about addresses as full identity, but more as technical tools, like a cookie in Web2. So for me, a future where you create tons of addresses each day and you put them in there exactly what you need to access the website, that is the future that I think makes sense.
Right, something that's a bit more user-friendly, because obviously in the future you can have thousands of addresses, thousands of wallets. It's just not.
And you don't know it. You just have so in Sismo, you would have your aggregate view. You import your accounts, you connect with Twitter, you connect with GitHub. Then it manages many wallets. And as a user, you only see all your data aggregated, but you don't know that behind that there is like tons of addresses. And then when you connect to a website with Sismo, let's say that you want to connect to a gated service, Sismo will allow you to decrypt proof that you can access it, a bit like a single sign-on. Then maybe under the hood, you create a new address and receive a SBT and you use it to connect. I think the future won't have users know about addresses. This is technical. Let's not forget that wallets are technical in the end.
Yeah, wallets and even the overall vocabulary, right, surrounding probably have to change between DAOs, SBTs. There's probably a better thing. Regarding the use cases of Sismo, you obviously mentioned like kind of having communities. What are your thoughts when it comes to potentially having communities kind of outside of crypto or Web3? Have you thought about that, or is that more down the line, or your focus is really more for now within Web3 in terms of using these badges?
Yes, so actually the badges are mainly useful to have persistence on chain and so that you can reuse them. But let me get back to, the process of getting a badge. So I'm in Sismo, I have my imported accounts, and I will be able to generate a ZK proof of things about my accounts. Then I send the ZK badge on chain to get the ZK badge. I cannot trade my ZK proof against the ZK badge. What I could do very well is just send the ZK proof to a off-chain app that don't need the SBT, doesn't need the badge, and could just verify the ZK proof. So in Sismo, we use the blockchain as a source of data. We don't need the blockchain. Like the attestation don't need to be on chain necessarily. Sometimes they can live in a Web2 server. So yeah, let's say that you want to create a Discord role for all people that follow you on Lens. You don't necessarily need people to mint the badge, then get the Discord channel to the badge holders. You could directly just, with Sismo, create the ZK proof, and I verify if it's valid. I give you the role, and there's no blockchain involved. Users prove stuff, consumer verify stuff. And one of the very precise consumer is the contract that creates the ZK badge, but you could very well have third parties that verify the ZK proof.
And within the space, what are the projects that maybe you're working with or that you're currently inspired by, or that you inspire both ways with regards to digital identities, ZK badges in general, not only within the Ethereum community, but even branching onto other chains? Is there specific cases that you have in mind?
Yeah, I guess I'm a big proponent of Lens because I think that they build everything in the open. It's very pluggable. I think it's a very, very good experiment about what it means to open a social graph and make it very accessible because everything is on chain. It might not appear as super efficient in terms of pure computer science. Why do we need to have everything on chain? But it's so much powerful for projects like Sismo to interpret, to plug in their Lens. But like Guild, I think that there are good projects that also, it's a Web2 infrastructure, but that is very modular, everything is open source. And generally, there are many teams that consume our APIs, consume our stuff.
Going on this topic, actually, you mentioned there's a lot of players/projects that are involved with regard to this topic. Do you think that we're at an experimental stage where there's so much room for all these projects to kind of explore? Or do you still see these projects as maybe competitors, or you want to work with them? Like, what's your general views on working with other projects? within the space?
I'm always in the side of there's no competition at all. I'm always trying to, like, even the people that are closest to that might look like closest to competitors that we can have, I want to meet them. I think that everybody should think alike, because our vision will happen. I mean, that's my position. I think that we will grow all together, and it's huge what we're doing. Yeah, I mean, Sismo is entirely open source.
You mentioned, obviously, you think that your vision will happen, and you briefly described it earlier. But tying back to Sismo in 2023 and then in the future, what are the close plans that you have, or the things in the coming years to really reach that vision? Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, but what are you aiming for?
Yeah, so last year about the ZK badges, it's great. We got a great community. People are starting to understand like ZK for privacy. I can migrate my data from the wallet to another, stuff like that. So for this year, we'll try to do more deep integrations with applications so that they can use the Prove with Sismo button. It's basically a button you can put on any app that, let's say that I'm on Lens. I want to import the fact that I don't know, that I'm a millionaire, let's say. Of course, you will never link your wallet. And there you would have a button with a net star, let's say, and you click on Prove with Sismo. It redirects to Sismo just for a couple of seconds. The time you create the ZK proof that yes, you are a millionaire. Then you're back to the app, and there you get the badge, or you get just access to service. Another example is the ZK shop. Let's say that you want to send merch to people that are users of Ethereum, let's say that made more than 10 transactions. You can have a shop and say, okay, to get my hat, Ethereum user, prove me that you made more than 10 transactions. And so again, you integrate the proof button, it redirects for a couple of seconds. Small, proof, and then you access to the opt-in app. And here, there's no badge involved. It's purely text. So we hope to compete with like sign in with Google and this kind of stuff in a Web3 way. That's
the stronger the decentralized network is in terms of projects working on this, the better we can compete with things such as Google, right? If not, alone at this current stage is obviously very complicated. What are your guilty pleasures when it comes to like Web3? When you're not working on Sismo, what are you passionate about or really excited about? It really could be anything. It could be identity, but it could be NFTs, DeFi, gaming, or things outside of crypto. What
did you say? You say when I'm not working on Sismo? No, I'm kidding. To be honest, like the Web3 social space is really passionate. It's something that gets all my passion. And the ZK space also. Like if I had something, it's more like the cryptography part. I think that the community is amazing. Like many things are being built in the ZK space. And yeah, I was from DeFi, but I'm not up to date anymore. I never was an NFT person, so yeah, I think that really focused on making Web3 real. So
that makes a lot of sense. Do you have any final thoughts or maybe something that you would like to talk about that we haven't touched upon, or a shout out to any person, project, article? What are your final thoughts before we close out the episode?
Like this Web3 social trend is very exciting. Again, like I think I don't have a message. It's just like it's very early, and I think it has all the signals that it will become something very, very interesting. And multiple teams are trying multiple strategies to get there, but the vision is quite obvious and common for everyone. So I think it's a very, very good timing to get in. Like all projects are early. We are hiring, everyone is hiring in this space because it's not a bear market in our space, I think. Since it's a bit niche, all people that are in are bear market kind of people.
And so, since you mentioned that point, what is Sismo currently looking for? If anyone in the audience is it developers? What are you looking for specifically?
I guess we're looking for senior people around like PM, integrations, developer relations, across all these things. But again, for the roadmap of getting great partnerships, we will very soon have all our documentation public and stuff like that, and we'll try to make great partnerships.
And also something that I forgot to mention earlier, as we're in the final thoughts, is the current state of is Sismo omni-chain, or what are your plans regarding that being on other chains?
Yeah, so Sismo is multi-chain. So for now, we're only on Polygon and Exodus and mainnet, Ethereum. But again, Sismo is not dependent so much on chains, on blockchains. I think it's bigger than blockchains in the sense that we create ZK proof, it's off-chain. We create like just the users create ZK proof and they can bring it anywhere. If they want to bring it on-chain, that's cool, but they can bring it to other people. So we are like by nature, we are more than chain agnostic. We are database agnostic. It can be in off-chain or on-chain, anything.
Great. Yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Hadrien, for being a part of today's episode. And links for Sismo and Hadrien will be in the description. As for us, if you want to get more involved in our community, make sure to follow us on our social platforms. So on Twitter is NEWFORUM_NCO. Likes, shares, or subscribes are very appreciated, and have a great day. Thanks again, Hadrien.
Thanks very much.